The U.S. Air Force was flying right through Hurricane Hilary as it became a tropical storm.
And KTVU's James Torres was the only Bay Area reporter to join the Air Force hurricane hunters, showing us what it's like to fly in those hurricane force winds.
Just outside the Santa Maria Public Airport, this is usually the home ground for CAL FIRE. They have lots of large aircrafts that respond to wildfires all throughout the state. But today and this weekend, it was the hub for the U.S. Air Force 53rd Reconnaissance Squadron, or simply known, the Hurricane Hunters. We rode along with their final flight of Hurricane Hilary, an overnight exploration proving the storm was weakening and weakening fast. We went up around 6:30 last night, didn't touch ground again until about 2 a.m. The goal, they say, cross through the eye of the storm however many times the National Hurricane Center instructs them to. Each time we cross the eye, that's called a fix. And for our trip, we attempted to complete 2 fixes. The only problem, when the storm is breaking apart, it loses its eye shape. So these hunters actually had a hard time finding the center of the storm. And while we were up in the sky, I had a chance to talk to the aircraft pilot, a young man from Florida who says, growing up in a state full of storms, this job seemed perfect.
We're making a great impact to all the coastal areas. And so what we do is we're providing information that really refines the track. So warns people way ahead of time whether they need to evacuate, and so that information gets passed on to the local officials, and then the local officials make the call on whether to evacuate their areas or not. So it makes a huge difference in keeping the public safe, especially on the coastlines.
That noise you hear, that's researchers sending down what's called a drop zone. It's a tube launched into the storm collecting all sorts of data: wind speed, wind direction, temperature, you name it. They get that data immediately when the tube hits the ocean water, and then that gets sent over to the National Hurricane Center. Experts there will then use that information to predict watches and warnings. For the most part, the flight was pretty smooth. Not that much shaking here and there, a little bit of turbulence, but not as much as you expect when entering the eye of a Category 2 hurricane. And once we're in the eye, we're flying at about an altitude of 10,000 feet, so real close to that surface level. Now, most of these guys, they're headquartered in Biloxi, Mississippi. They're expected to fly back home by the end of the weekend. Reporting in Santa Maria, I'm James Torres.